Hey guys, I'm Nick. Welcome back to the Lawn Care Masterclass. Right, we're carrying on with refurb on this lawn, and today we are aerating. Okay, so why would you want to aerate your lawn? Well, in this case on this lawn, it suffers from waterlogging quite a bit. The water doesn't drain away over time with just general usage with people walking and running about on the lawn, lawnmower running over it, and a lot these days with new builds where the soil they use in the lawns is so bad it compacts when it's being put down. What happens is you create something called mechanical compaction, and that's the process where soil that might be this thick over time gets compressed more and more and more, and for allowing the roots of your grass to actually work properly and allow the grass to grow really well, they need a good mix of soil structure, but also they need plenty of pockets of air for the oxygen for the roots to be able to take those up, but also enough for the water to permeate through the soil. When the ground compacts too much, what happens is all those little spaces in between get squished and squished until there's nothing left. And then what happens is, as you know, when you get rain lands on the surface, but it stays on the surface and can't drain through, and you get waterlogging. Now with this lawn, I've seen over the last year, 2 years, when it does rain very, very hard, it struggles to actually release the water and actually let it drain through. So we're going to aerate, one, to allow better drainage, two, to help the health of the grass with the access to the water and the oxygen. Okay, different tools you can use. I'm going to take you over and show you what we've got. Okay, so these are the tools at my disposal. To start with, you can buy shoes that have spikes built into them, and you literally walk around your lawn and it spikes holes. Now the problem with those is the spikes are only inch, maybe an inch and a half. If you have serious waterlogging, that doesn't do any good. To be honest, I'm not quite sure why they're sold. I would never use them. And from when I originally started gardening and actually doing lawn care, the first thing I bought was this lethal looking thing. It kind of works. You get just like 2-inch nails digging into the soil. It gives you a little bit of aeration. It's quite hard to use, and from experience and education, I now know that for most of the jobs that I do where I need to get aeration, this just isn't good enough. But it's very, very simple to use. It's just quite hard work. So you can see track of the pattern of the holes going in. Now if you're only doing light aerating, that will work very, very well. So it'll work really well, and it's very, very quick. But it's hard on the back. Mind you, most of these are, unless you buy a machine that's actually going to do it for you, or you rent one out. Next option is garden fork. I've just had to buy a new one because I killed my other one on one of my jobs over in Beckenham. There was so much stone, concrete and brick in the soil that ended up with one of these tines was kind of at a stupid angle. So brand new fork. This Kent and Stowe, I've had these before, this should be fine. And all you do with this one is literally stand on it, wiggle it, and that makes a hole in the soil. Right, so there we can see the holes in the soil. Advantage with using the garden fork over the roller is the holes are slightly wider, and the depth, you can end up going to the full depth, so you can get up to 6-7 inches. I only went in 4 inches in there just for illustration purposes. Right, so next on the list is this hollow tine aerator. So I always carry one of these when I'm using this. While you're actually using it, the plugs will knock themselves out anyway. So as you can see, hollow tines takes out a larger plug, and what allows you to do is when you're putting your sand and soil mix back onto the lawn, it's much easier to get into the holes. Plus it increases the amount of aeration and drainage that you get. And this is what I'm going to be using today. So we can see here, it's all plugged up from where it's taken soil out. You can see there the holes are much bigger. So if we look at the first one we did, and then garden fork, and then the hollow tine aerator. There we go. Okay, of all the jobs we're doing, this is probably the most physically tiring one. So I'm going to get a drink of water and crack on with it. In terms of spacing, I'm going to go in every 2 feet along a line, and then come back and stagger. Same way if you like brickwork, you have 2 bricks together and then the next one sits over. I'll do the stagger on that way on this one, and then we'll see how it goes. Right, I just want to get on and we'll see in a bit. Okay, right, I'm not going to bore you with doing the rest of the lawn. I'm going to get that finished and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Right, okay, that's the aerating done. That's an hour and 20 minutes using the hollow tine aerator, the manual one. So if we were to use the lethal looking roller thing that we had at the beginning with the 2-inch spikes, that would probably take about 10 minutes, but it wouldn't do much good. Garden fork, probably about half an hour, but again, the holes are really small, so yes, there would be some benefit, but it would be minimal. Manual version, like I said, hour and 20. If you were to get either hire out or buy a machine, probably do the whole lawn in 10 minutes. Hiring one, probably looking at about £80 to £100 for a day or over a weekend. But if you're looking to buy entry level one, you're looking at probably about £1,800. And if you're looking for a decent one, you probably start at about 2.5 and head up as far as you like. I've seen ones at about £6,000, but you know, for this, it's just not worth it. The other thing you have to consider is the access. I would struggle to get a decent machine in here to do this. So doing it manually, yes, takes a bit longer, but just one of those things. Right, a few tips. Get yourself a decent pair of gloves, because when you're pushing down on it on the aerator, it's quite hard work on the palms. Wear a good pair of shoes that's got a decent sole, because when you're bouncing up and down it to try and get it into the soil, it doesn't necessarily hurt the soles of your feet, but it's good to have a bit of protection. When you're actually cutting the holes in, have the tines at the front so you can look down and see if they're actually working, the soil's actually being popped out as you go along. And always travel backwards, and that way you're not standing on the little plugs of soil that pop out. It makes it easy to clean them up afterwards. And when you're standing on there, if you're on a difficult bit, don't be afraid to give it a really good wiggle to make it get into the ground. Especially where the ground's the hardest and it's really difficult to get in. Don't give up when it's only gone in an inch. That's the place where it really needs you to actually get the whole thing right the way in, because they tend to be the parts of the lawn either where you've got very compacted soil naturally, or they're well-travelled parts of the lawn, and that's where you need to get drainage working better. And I think that's all for the tips. Right, I'm going to take you over and show you what we've got. Okay, so as we move along now, we can see we've got a nice pattern of all the holes in the lawn that we've got along. So staggered at 2 foot intervals right the way across the entire lawn. Now if we're going close, over here, these are the plugs that have come out. They're quite hard, but the base here is chalk. I think it's about 250 million years old, chalk base here, but the soil here is quite a high content of clay, so if we squish it, holds its shape very well, and it breaks up not very easily. So that'd be part of the issue why the water drains away at a very slow rate in this lawn, because there's a high content of clay. So part of the next process will be to fill those in with something that will drain a bit better. Some will advocate that you could reuse these plugs. So what you would do is go back over it with a scarifier, break up all the plugs, and then you could add sand to the surface, and that will allow you to fill the soil back up. Fill the holes back up. I won't be doing that with this lawn because it's clay. I want to get rid of that and bring in some really nice topsoil, and then add in a fair amount of sharp sand and grit sand so that the water drainage is much better. Not going to do that today because it's just rain, so it's not going to make it that easy to actually get the sand in. But there you go, that's the scarifying done. Looks a bit nasty, but it's supposed to. Right, so that's the end of the scarifying and the aerating. Hope that was helpful. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Give the video a like, and I will see you next time with top dressing. See you soon.